You see, the worst person to mess with is a person with nothing to lose. I think most people would understand that and be aware of that. But then again, an even worse person is a nutter with nothing to lose. So if you're also convinced that I'm a nutter, and you've put me in a situation where I've got nothing, and you know I've got nothing to lose, why would you continue to mess with me? Seems strange, doesn't it? Why would you mess with a complete nutcase? Why would you start a fight with a complete nutcase? You see, I never started fights with my brother. I always got beatings from him. I never started fights with him because he could batter the life out of me and he was a nutcase. That's why I've done everything I could to appease him. So when you know someone's a nutter, you don't mess with them, well then you clearly don't think I'm actually a nutter. Otherwise you wouldn't be messing with me, would you? Yet again, facts over feelings. Logic. If you honestly thought I was some hardcore full-on psychopath, then you wouldn't be playing silly games with me. You wouldn't be messing with me, would you? You wouldn't put yourself at that risk. So you know I'm not a nutter. Prove me wrong if you want, but what you failed to realise is I genuinely have nothing to lose. Don't matter what I say in any of these videos, it ain't going to lose me a job, is it? I ain't got one. Is it going to lose me friends? I ain't got none. If I say something bad about Stephen, is Dad going to get upset? Would Dad get upset if I say something bad about anyone else? You know, how can I lose Ben by talking about Paula? How can I lose Robert by talking about Chris? How can I lose any of you? You have nothing to do with me. You see, all I'm going to lose is the stigma attached to abuse, the blame attached to the abuse. It's that simple, isn't it? All I've got to lose is all the negative shit that you inflict on me. All I've got to lose is the blame that you place upon me. And what I stand to gain is the opportunity to help other people understand their situation from me understanding mine. If I can find someone a way out of their trap, a way for them to recognise they're in a trap, before they get to a point where they're as trapped as I am, then that's helping people, isn't it? Maybe it's not such a bad thing that all this happened to me. Because at least I can pull a positive out of it. I can find a positive in it. Apart from your satisfaction of doing it, and your satisfaction of leaving me in that mess, and your satisfaction from never sorting it out and believing that I'm trapped in that with no other options, what do you gain now? How do you create a gain from this situation? Because you can't have anything from me now. You're never going to get anything from me now. I might turn up at your funeral. Yeah, actually, yeah. But anyways, aside from that, like I say, I've got nothing to lose, you've got nothing to gain. Just would have been a bit nicer for you if we sorted it out face to face, if we sorted it out over the phone, if we established routes of communication. You try and work out, what have I got to lose? And you still want to fuck things up, you still want to fuck with me. I've got nothing left to take, and you still want to destroy me. You can't see that I'm destroyed, you're not satisfied with what you've done already. You still want to keep me in this situation. When do any of you ever call me? When do any of you ever reach out to me? Never. Look at yourselves. Just look at yourselves. Everything that my mum and dad done for my cousins, and they justify it with things like, yeah, your mum and dad gave us everything we wanted, but our mum was ill when her dad was useless. Yeah, exactly, you could have had what you needed, but that wasn't enough. You took what you wanted, and even though you had what you wanted when you wanted because you wanted, and you justify that with your mum being ill and your dad being useless, well, what did you give back when my mum was dead and my dad was useless? You didn't even help me to achieve the things I needed. All you done was continue to abuse me. Can't always be about you. Why say that to me? How is it in your mind that life has always been about me? There's somewhere in your mind where everything is always about me. But when I'm telling you what's wrong, you've never heard any of it before. So you've never had to put yourself aside for what's wrong in my life. So that isn't what you mean when you say it's always about me. Well, what is it you actually mean? You haven't had to deal with me in any way, shape or form as far as I know, so in what way has it always been about me inside your head? Let's look at one of my cousins. So my aunt's ill, their dad's useless, and my mum and dad are doing their best for them, and they get what they want when they want because they want. And then one of my cousins 14 and pregnant, and she hasn't got a mum or dad really to look after, and she depends to some extent on my mum and dad, and she thinks that they're all going to play happy families, and then my mum gets pregnant with me. What, was that a bit of a dent for you, was it? Is that how I ruined your life? Is that how I ruined my brother's life? Because I took up space, I took up time, I took up money. I didn't choose to. I didn't even know I was. You know, they were choosing to do those things for me. They were choosing to feed me. I'm sorry I took up that time. You're right. They shouldn't have been feeding me, shouldn't have bathed me, shouldn't have changed my nappy, shouldn't have been putting me to bed. You're right. They shouldn't have done that. What horrible people. But they're not horrible people. They're great people. That's what you tell me, because you don't want to hear a bad word about them, so it must be my fault. So it's my fault I was born. It's my fault I was a baby. It was my fault that you had a child. It's my fault that my brother didn't have as much space, money or time as he'd had before. And you're still all holding it against me to this day. Wow. You're full grown adults and you're still upset at the fact that I exist. Just the fact I exist. And then what, I seem to be doing alright in all that mess. And then my mum and dad have got something to sort of boast about. But I'm doing alright. But all that was covering up the abuse, making it seem like everything was alright. Because as long as everyone thinks it's alright, it can carry on being absolute hell. Because they've got their cover story, they've got a way of looking good, so they're using me to look good. But every time they use me to look good, you then feel bad about your dopey kids. You feel bad about that one being dyslexic. You feel bad about that one being a troublemaker. You feel bad about the fact that you've created those lives for attention and not got the attention you got. Oh, and it hurts you so much. You tell me my life's been perfect. Never been anything wrong in my life. I'm alright. There's nothing wrong in my life. Okay, I'll take that on board. My life's perfect. Never been anything wrong. Well then, considering I've always heard what's wrong with you, every one of you, there was no right for me to be upset because you're having trouble with your husband. No right for me to be upset about anything because your kid's stupid. No right for me to be upset because that one's having trouble with her husband. No right for me to be upset or to exist in any way, shape or form because my brother's struggling with this, that, the other. Constantly being shut down with your problems. Constantly being shut down with your problems. So I do know what you're like. I do know you inside out. I know all about you. Paula's a wind-up merchant. Chris is too fragile for anyone to say anything to her. And Gina had no right to say anything because she ain't got any kids. That is the absolute base formula of all your arguments that my mum was dealing with. And she'd be back and forth on the phone, phoning this one, phoning that one, phoning this one, phoning that one, relaying it all to the third. That was a regular occurrence. So she could sort out all of your life. Then I have to deal with all of your problems. I'm not allowed to exist because you've all got problems. And she had to do that because your mum was ill and your dad was useless. But then when I say, please help me and my dad get into some kind of therapy so we can make progress, you don't want to. You don't want to, do you? You don't like the thought of that. It can't always be about you. Okay? It's not about me, it's about my dad. Oh, you need to learn to respect other people's feelings. I do respect other people's feelings. I respect the fact that my dad's in a total mess and I need him to get the help that he needs to get, and I need a little bit of help to get that, and I'm approaching you to ask. And then you say something stupid like, well, I haven't got a good relationship with my dad. There's the crux of the matter, isn't it? You haven't got a good relationship with your dad, so I can't have a good relationship with mine. Well, why haven't you got a good relationship with your dad? Because you've never made any effort to sort things out? Because you weren't willing to put the effort into sorting things out? And while you leave it unresolved, you have a target for your blame. So then me, being a grown-up, accepting that things need to be sorted out, putting the effort into sorting things out, trying to get help to sort things out so that me and my dad can sort things out, then causes you even more upset. It's even more distressing for you that I've overcome things and made an effort that you can't. Oh, but in recent years you have sorted things out with your dad. Why's that? Because he's getting older and it's getting closer to you getting your inheritance, and you want to secure your inheritance. And because it's gone on so long, you can keep on blaming him, so now he's back in your life as a point of blame while you secure your inheritance. Nasty, horrible people. But yet again, feel free to prove me wrong. Feel totally free to prove me wrong. Can you? Can any of you prove me wrong? Or are you just going to gang up, tell each other how horrible I am, tell your kids how horrible I am, they can tell each other how horrible I am, and then when I try to speak to any one of you, all you can do is, but this one said, but that one said, but this one said, but that one said, but this one said, but that one said. Do you know how stupid and childish you sound? I'd rather not interact with that, thank you very much. So as I said, I've got nothing to lose. Really got nothing to lose. It's like, I explained that I needed to look after my nan because she needed to be looked after. Dad needed to keep the business going, therefore the work needed to get done. They didn't have the money they needed to pay an employee, therefore my mum needed to go to work, and nan needed to be cared for. No one else was going to care for her. Well, then I needed to come home from school at lunch, and that is how it was put to me. So no matter what I wanted to do with kids my age, I needed to be at home, making sure that nan had what she needed. Didn't get a choice about that, and then people say, well, if you didn't want to do it, you shouldn't have done it. Where does want come into it? Oh shit, that's the point, hang on. The cousins of my generation didn't want to help my nan, so they didn't help my nan. Their kids didn't want to help their nan. You know, you didn't even want to help your own mum, did you? She went in a home. So there you go. You didn't want to look after your mum, that's why she went in a home. And your kids didn't want to look after her. Whereas I was here looking after my nan, I was here looking after my mum. Because it needed doing. You can't understand that, can you? You can't understand that, because all you've really done is what you want when you want because you want. And if you didn't want to do it, it didn't matter if anyone else suffered. Like when I approached one of my cousins, I laid that out to her, you know. If you keep making out that what needed doing was me wanting it in some way, you're suggesting that I wanted my mum to be ill. I wanted that process. I wanted nan to be incapable. I wanted her to starve. I didn't. Of course I didn't. I said to her, like, are you serious? You've only ever done what you want when you want because you want. She went, yeah. I said, so all the arguments with your husband, that was what you wanted? She said, yeah. Well then, all the arguments with me must have been what you wanted too, right? Because you only have the arguments you want to have. But then once I start getting to a point where you have to accept yourself and I can disprove what you're saying and I can force you to accept what I'm saying, you cut me off. Because that's not what you want anymore. So up until that point you were getting what you wanted from having conflicts with me. Just the same as you was getting what you wanted from having conflicts with your husband. Where's the difference? You only do what you want when you want because you want, and you're convinced that I must have wanted to do everything I've done in my life. No, I didn't want the sexual abuse. Definitely didn't want that. How could I have wanted to masturbate for someone if I didn't even know what an erection was? Just a simple, basic example. How could I have wanted that? Work that one out. But you can't. You've got to do something. Come on. Sit there in silence, not giving me an answer back, not giving me a reply. At some point, disprove me. Prove me wrong.